Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Lost Angel of Havoc, aka Lay Tato, aka the High Priest of the Hunter Gang. And today we're going to be talking about Destiny 2. What am I talking about in Destiny 2? We are going to discuss the August 2023 State of the Game. State of the Game was released on August 3rd, last Thursday. I myself was out of town at GCX, had a wonderful time. It was dope to be around the community, kick it with some friends, and just really just be in my element as a creator. And also just, again, kick it with my community and my people, man. I had a great time. Overall, it was just a great experience, even overwhelming sometimes, but in all the best ways. And very much needed, considering how the state of the game got received. Now, just to give you a little bit of understanding of what we are talking about, the state of the game is when the studio releases basically a big wall of text. They talk about goals and where their focuses are for the game for the upcoming year of content and everything. Generally, we get one about once a year, sometimes twice. I think we got one earlier this year, ahead of Lightfall, and then we got another one just now. I had considered possibly not covering the state of the game just because the overall sentiment and feedback of the community to the state of the game was generally negative. And the last thing I ever want to do is invalidate how people feel about something they're very passionate about. And at the same time, I also just don't want to contribute to a negative feedback loop. That said, I did say that I was going to be covering it, so I want to make good on that. But I'm also going to talk about my personal feelings on it. So let's get into it. Overall, I feel like this state of the game, more than others that we've gotten, read as a 50-50. Usually, state of the game happens generally positive. This one, it felt like they were giving us the meat and potatoes about things that aren't really doable and things that they're not really looking to focus on at the moment. But they also talked about some things that are to come, quality of life upgrades, new modes for Crucible, things like that. So that's where we're going to start. Quality of life upgrades coming in Season 22, which launches August 22nd, same day as the showcase. We're going to be getting cosmetic favoring. At long last, you'll be able to pin up to 100 of your favorite shaders, ornaments, and emotes to the top of the list. In addition, stasis aspects and fragments will be moved to the vendor system, so any character that's completed the Beyond Light campaign will be able to acquire all available stasis aspects and fragments from Elsie Bray on Europa. Elsie Bray is also known as the Exo Stranger. And like shaders before them, transmat effects will now be unlockable, so starting next season, you'll be able to go ahead and dismantle them out of your inventory, and you won't need to go into collections to pull them back out again. They'll just be on the ship menu. Also, starting next season, there will actually be a real quest, finally, once again, for the exotic bow Wish Ender. So you won't have any more charged or uncharged discs sitting in your inventory, just a single quest strand in your quest log. And you're going to want that bow. They're also going to be adding a resources tab to collections. This will show off all of the currencies, upgrade materials, and engrams in the game, and it'll be categorized with information on how to acquire them, so on and so forth. So I think that'll be very interesting, especially for new players coming into the game, because Lord knows Destiny has so much in it, and it'll be great for players to actually be coming in for the first time, or maybe you've just been here for a little bit and have an area in game you can go where you can kind of figure out which it is. Starting in Season 22 as well, in Iron Banner, while it's active, there will be 2 stacking challenges each day. One for players who just want their reputation multiplier, and the other for players that are just chasing pinnacles. We're also going to be getting 3 brand new Strand aspects, 1 for each class. I'm very excited for that because I absolutely love Strand as a subclass. It feels amazing on all the characters, especially that Hunter gang, because you know I'm going to rep all day. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new aspects. There's also going to be some exotic armor reworks, which just this week they released a developer insights blog post about that, going into the exotic armor reworks and also some nerfs for Strand, but that's going to be for another video. They also mentioned in the state of the game that with the final shape, we will also be getting new weapon subfamilies coming into the game. I don't know what that means. Normally, if it's going to be a brand new weapon type altogether, they say new weapon archetype. Subfamilies is more of like same weapon type but different behaviors, like rapid fire frame shotguns versus precision frame shotguns, things like that. So we'll see. Either way, I'm interested, but we'll find out more of that on the 22nd, which is only a couple weeks away. So I'm really excited for that too. Now, here's where we get into the muddy waters, as it were, when it comes to the state of the game. I will start with the PvP section. To quote the state of the game directly, thanks to the hard work of multiple teams, we've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. These include the launch of Competitive Division, multiple new game modes, a revamp of Trials of Osiris, new competitive and trials awards, fireteam matchmaking improvements, new rotator playlists, PvP specific weapon tuning, several quality of life improvements, and more. However, we know our hardcore PvP players want more maps, fewer cheaters, and an ever-evolving meta that feels good to compete in. The most frequent feedback we see is that there's just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps. To set expectations, our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with the trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidth on work that contributes to a variety of experiences that players also hold dear, such as new story or exotic mission content, core activities that make up the foundation of each season, or new destinations. Similarly, bringing back reprise maps also involves extensive porting to the latest version of Destiny 2, which requires additional resources to ensure the maps work correctly for multiple game modes and playstyles for years to come. That right there is a passage that I feel set the community ablaze. It's actually to the point that I was actually concerned about what GCX would be, because it came out a day before the event started. So it was a very interesting time to be reading that and everything. However, this is where I tend to veer off with my feelings about the state of the game. I don't spend a lot of time in PvP, so I try not to be too harsh when I look at people's criticisms about PvP and the attention it gets. I can respect that PvP players want more engaging content. They want more stuff that's going to keep them around, because for them, that is their bread and butter. That is the experience that they log on every day to do. That's what they're there for. Just like I'll log in and I'll play the story, I'll do my exotic missions, I'll run strikes, I'll play Gambit, so on and so forth. The hardcore PvP crowd, they log in to get that PvP action. So I respect the sentiments there wholeheartedly. However, what they did not say in that passage was that they don't care about PvP. All they said was that they're dedicating resources to other things, including more overarching PvP updates, probably things that they can deliver on a more consistent basis that also affects player experience. Again, I get it, but I feel like sometimes when you're passionate about something, you take things at face value. You know, you read a passage or something, and your mind automatically goes to, oh, well, they just don't care then. Or they just not going to invest in this. And it's really not that. They actually follow up that passage and everything with some things that they are working on and will be bringing in to PvP starting next season. We're going to be getting a new PvP map called the Multiplex. It's Vex Network themed. It looks amazing. So I'm sure that's going to be something new and fresh for folks. We're going to be getting a new checkmate modifier coming to the Crucible in the form of Crucible Labs from week 5 to 10 of season 22. It'll be checkmate control for the first 2 weeks, and then checkmate survival, and then there'll be 2 weeks of checkmate rumble to finish off the trial run. So I think that'll be interesting. Going to be interested to see what people's response to that is. And we're also getting a new Crucible mode called Relic. I'm personally very excited about Relic because when I read this, I was like, this is going to be insane. But basically, it's going to be a 6v6 party mode where we can just go crazy with the different relics in the game, like the Aegis Shield from Vault of Glass, the Synaptic Spear from Season of the Risen, and even the Scythe from Season of the Haunted. So I'm actually very, very excited to see that mode go live and jump into it with the congregation. Relic will also be launching initially in Crucible Labs. That'll be starting in week 1 to week 4 of season 22, and then it'll come back again in week 11 to close off its trial run for the season. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that mode. It's going to be crazy. I imagine there's going to be a little more to it than just having the relics, but we'll see. But it sounds fun and chaotic, which is always a good time for me personally. I don't feel like enough credit was given for this information because people got fixated on the fact that the attention wasn't also going to be going to just new maps or, you know, maybe even more modes or something. I don't think it's wrong to want more. I think that's fair, but the fact, the response, you would have thought they basically said, yeah, y'all not getting no new maps, and that's it. But we are getting new things, and you know how those new things will land, we will see. But it's something. I think in cases like these, something is a whole lot better than nothing, and you gotta appreciate it. You don't necessarily have to like it, but again, it could just be nothing. So there is that. Moving on, Gambit. Look what they did to my boy. The state of the game said in so many words that Bungie has no plans at this time to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit, but they do plan a few updates for the final shape. They're going to be reprising the Cathedral of Scars map for Gambit, bringing it up to date with the latest version of Destiny 2. This is actually a very beautiful map and one of my favorites from the original iteration of Gambit. They're also going to be adding Shadow Legion and Lucent Hive enemy types. I gotta tell you, I love conversations with my community because we start thinking about the most outrageous shit when they started talking about that. But I'm very interested in seeing what that's going to look like, because as we know, if you've been playing since Witch Queen, Lucent Hive means there's potential there for a Hive Guardian or two to pop out, and it's going to be real interesting if you have an Invader and Gambit coming and they pop a Sentinel Shield, and then you got a Lucent Hive Knight and they pop in their Sentinel Shield too. it's gonna be nuts. But I'm looking forward to it. It should be very interesting. So we'll see. As a longtime Gambit enjoyer, I mean, my very first piece of Destiny content was a song called Gambit on My Mind. That was the very first piece of Destiny content I actually made in earnest. It makes me very sad that Gambit won't really be getting touched for the foreseeable future in any sort of like meaningful way. But I understand. They've done a lot with Gambit over the years, here and there. Firstly with Gambit Prime, and then it eventually became the iteration that it is now, which is a hybridized version of elements of Gambit Prime mixed in with more of the loop from the original. I like the original. Prime was cool, but there was nothing like, doing the original, especially when you had the sudden death mode. But it's one of those things where you had to be there. And I enjoyed my time with it. We had it, and we just gonna pour one out and appreciate the memories that we have. And the icing on the cake, I think this is what really kind of twisted the knife a bit, was ritual armor sets. In the state of the game, they discussed previous plans, which was initially we were supposed to get a ritual set every year. Ritual armor sets are the armor sets tied to the ritual activities, which are Crucible, Gambit, and Strikes. That actually didn't happen with Lightfall, and I will quote the state of the game here just so I don't misspeak about where Bungie stands with it all. The state of the game reads, a long time ago, we shared a plan to address concerns on reward balance. Players have pointed out that we didn't release a new armor set for the ritual playlist with Lightfall as previously called out in our yearly release schedule. Delivering ritual armor sets at the rates we have in the past has become increasingly challenging, especially considering these sets have historically had very low adoption rates by players, both base armor and as cosmetic ornaments. At this time, we are amending our delivery plans for how often we refresh these sets and will no longer be creating a new set for every expansion. However, we are prioritizing the delivery of new ritual armor sets alongside the final shape to infuse some new looks that you'll be able to show off from your time in the Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit playlists. We also have a new armor set for Trials of Osiris releasing in just a few short weeks. And they have a preview of the new Titan armor set from Trials of Osiris, which will be coming in Season 22. The reason I said I felt like this twisted the knife, because you had the hit of the Crucible with no maps, right? Then you have the announcement that there's really no plans to work on Gambit at this time. Then we get to armor. And armor becomes an issue because everybody loves to bring up the Eververse. I think in this particular circumstance, discussing Eververse versus ritual armor sets is valid. I think Bungie may or may not necessarily be aware that the ritual armor sets that we got with the last two major expansions really weren't much in comparison to other sets we got, whether it be the seasonal sets or seasonal ornaments, and definitely Eververse. That's not to say that Eververse armor sets are always like bomb. I feel like that's a matter of opinion, just like with fashion in game in general, right? But anytime where you see the microtransaction store getting regular attention versus things that are actually earnable in game, there's going to be some talk and discussion and discourse. Now, personally, I've never really had a problem with Eververse, but this season, when I saw multiple shader packs with like shader with weapon ornaments and all that stuff exclusive, it did give me cause to pause and raise my eyebrow a bit. But again, Destiny is the main game I play. That's how I socialize and everything. So my logic is, if I see it and I want it, I'm gonna get it, and that's my choice. That's my choice on where I'm gonna put my bread. However, I do feel like anything fashion-wise that's earnable in game should get some level of that same attention. I think that seasonal armor sets like we got last season that were, thematically Techian, stuff like that is dope, because that base seasonal armor set was incredible and the ornaments were also dope. But again, I feel like it's allowed to be hit or miss, but I definitely feel like anything that's earnable in game should be worth earning. No one wants to spend their time in a playlist and get stuff that at bare minimum doesn't even really look all that good or look all that appealing, and again, it's really hard to justify having dope ass Eververse sets, but the free stuff is kind of meh. Now, devil's advocate, call it whatever you want to call it, when it comes to this particular subject, it just comes down to business. For me, as a consumer, looking at it as just purely a player and a consumer, I get it. I get the outrage and frustration. As someone that works in a business field, I work in property management. I see how decisions get made that involve the movement of money and investment. Resources as a term can be very conceptual, and end of day, businesses got to make the best investments to get the best return for their investment. Eververse is always going to have a guaranteed return on investment. There's people that aren't on Twitter, aren't participating in these conversations. They're not, talking in their circles or whatever. They just jumping on to play the game. This is the only thing they do. It may be the 20, 30 minutes they have of peace in their day. And if damn it, they want to throw $20, $30 at the Eververse so they can have some shit that looks incredible, by all means. That's just going to happen. That's just realistic. And I'm pretty sure that there's some data out there that shows that that's what happens in some capacity. So, Eververse is always going to get that attention. I hope, my general hope when it comes to this is that armor and cosmetics that are earnable in game are more consistently desirable. I think that's what this issue boils down to, desirability. And desirability can come in many forms. It can come in the form of course, the general look and aesthetic of armor, but also to stat rolls. We've talked about stats on this channel. I know y'all know what those is now. But yeah, you don't want to be playing high level activities and not be getting good stats on them. Even if the armor doesn't necessarily look all that great, if the stats are dope, then it's still worth it. And we got transmog now. So, but again, consistent desirability in earnable in-game cosmetics and armor is something that I hope for Destiny. And I'm pretty confident that we'll get it at some point. We're on the eve of the end of a 10-year saga, and there's going to be more after that. So I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. Like I said, state of the game as a whole is 50-50. There's some cool news, cool quality of life updates. There's also a lot of bad news. Not denying that at all. But In closing, I want to say that always remember that there's a method to the madness and there's a process. I am not a video game developer. I have done my best to take information as I get it from friends of mine in the field or friends of mine that are familiar with the field, and also just pay attention to videos from devs that actually do this stuff to gain a better understanding as a player, so I know when I'm leaving feedback how I can do so in the most constructive way. So game dev is hard, and realize that not every piece of feedback is actionable. If it is actionable, it might get tried, but then there comes the matter of, is it workable in the environment? And probably the biggest factor is, what does doing this one thing take away from? And is it worth taking away from a core experience? These are the things that you want to ask yourself and be mindful of. I'm not saying don't be upset, don't get angry. Obviously, everybody is welcome to their own opinion. Lord knows I have them. But again, I think it's important that if you want to leave feedback to developers, to the company, always want to be mindful of how you're doing that, because constructive feedback is great. It can really benefit businesses, teams, a great deal by just giving somebody ideas that they can work with, right? But anything that's just flat out insults or baseless assumptions, whatever have you, all that stuff is counterproductive. And in the worst iteration of those, you just create more unrest in the community. I know we all love the game. We're all very passionate about it. But you gotta be mindful of the messages that you're sending out to your community and what those messages might also be saying about you to the community at large. That's all I got for you guys. The full link to the state of the game, as well as the developer insights that released this week, will be linked into the description. So y'all be sure to check that out to get the full scoop. If you made it this far, just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to check me out and listen to what I have to say. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It's a little bit, but it does go a long way in helping the channel grow. If you like the content, want to stick around for more, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a video. My name is Lost Angel of Havoc. Thank you for watching Lay's Potato Clips. We'll see you next time, friends. Same late time, same late channel.